two rolling.
You and your logic. Camera 1 and 2 recording.
Rolling.
Final count.
Rolling.
Number 1 recording.
Do you have your timer?
Number two rolling, and audio has been rolling.
We're recording?
We are.
You don't trust me?
No.
Okay, are we ready?
Quiet on set!
Oh, I don't know what episode. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode, I can't really remember, it's gonna be in the titles.
We could call it episode bleepity bleep bleep your freaking bleep.
No, I veto that.
Damn!
Today we are discussing the book Destiny's Fall by Marie Bilodeau. It's the second book in the Destiny series, and I'm going to start with general impressions of the book. Rob?
Actually, I really enjoy this book a lot. In contrast to the first one, which I also enjoyed, but I found that the second one moved a lot faster. And the pacing was really good. Also really consistent pacing, which you don't often see in books. Sometimes there's slow periods, fast periods, whatever. Periods of intense interest, periods of not so much. But this one was a pretty constant good, going all the way through. So that was a nice change.
I also quite enjoyed this book, and I was really, really worried because I didn't particularly enjoy the first one. And caveat, I know Marie Bilodeau very well, and she is an amazing person. I love her very much, which made this slightly uncomfortable for me because I didn't like the first book so much. But I like this book a lot. A lot of the problems I had with the first book persist in this one, but they're much less glaring, and the story was compelling enough that I could ignore most of them. So, yeah, it's a good book. I enjoyed it.
Okay, so should we get into that right away?
Yeah, sorry, Marie. Depth. There was a phenomenal lack of depth for this, for these two books. This book, less so in this book than the previous one. And I'm not sure. It might be just my preferences, and so take this with a grain of salt because I really don't mind reading books that are this thick. There could have been so much more detail in this story that would have made me feel for the characters more, because everything just kind of is, and then it feels very sort of surface level. So when bad things happen, I'm like, well, that's a thing that happened. That was more so in the first book than in this one. In this one, I did feel a lot more, and I think it was also because I could relate to the characters better in this one.
That's interesting. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'd say lack of depth. I thought there was an appropriate amount of depth in this book.
See, I disagree. This book could have been like Erickson thick, and it wouldn't have felt.
That's
weird.
the thing. I mean, this book was obviously, not a Robert Jordan brick.
A brick.
So when you look at a book and you're like, okay, you know what, the book is this thick. Right away. That they're not going to be describing the color shading of every single thing of this, bowl. So, okay, fine. Because Robert Jordan, I mean, he'll go on 2 paragraphs on a doorknob. Okay, really.
I was just reminded of the epic rap battle between George R. R. Martin and Tolkien. Thanks, ERB. You don't need the history of every tree branch. Yeah. But yes.
And I think that if there was that excruciating amount of detail, it would have probably harmed the flow a lot. And one of the things I really did like about this book was the flow. So maybe a little bit more.
See, I disagree because I like it when there are periods to calm down a little. Like there are periods of high action and super intensity, and you're just stuck there reading and like, oh my god, and then you can relax a little in one of the periods of the book, and then it builds up again. This was all flat.
During those down periods, that's when you put the book down and go do something with your life. Whereas this book, I just kept on reading the whole thing, didn't stop.
Well, yeah, it was also easy to do. It was literally a 2-hour read. It was not a difficult read at all.
Actually, I found that this book took me longer to go through than some of the other ones. It was not a 2-hour read. I thought it was going to be a 2-hour read.
It was very much a 2-hour read
just
for me.
Based on the size, but this one, it took me about as long to read as at least 2 or 3 other of the books that we've recently done on these episodes, and all of those were thicker.
Oh,
So-
that's surprising. Yeah, I read this super quick.
I'd put this one at maybe about a 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And not through lack of interest either. And it was going smooth. It just, I guess I was paying attention more. So, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so aside from description, flow, we'd have different opinions, very obviously. On
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
What else?
What else I didn't like or did like?
Either one.
I really liked, as a character, Evian. She was cool. She was a lot of fun. And I found I related to her a fair amount. In the whole, well, now I'm just doing this because I'm being a stubborn goat. And home doesn't really feel like home because I've been away from it for so long. I really related to that. How you doing, Australia? So yeah, and the whole family tension thing where it used to be her and her brother, and now her brother has married Liella, and she's just like, well, where does that leave me? Well, fine, I'm gonna piss off, and I'm going to do what we were doing before. Nah.
But she also counterbalanced that by always being, the sister who had her brother's back. Too.
Yeah, always had her brother's back.
And it was also specified that he always had her back too. I mean, once you have the wife and the kids and the planet to rule, okay, there are some periods where he might not always be able to have her back, but she seemed very convinced that if shit ever hit the fan, he would show up.
Yeah.
In a really cool ship and.
Yeah. In a really cool ship.
How did you like Destiny 2?
That was such a cute idea. I actually really liked that ship. I liked the invisible ship more.
I wish I could have seen more of the invisible ship.
You're fired.
Oh god. I'm sorry. Okay. No. Destiny
Actually,
2,
yes. I wish there was more of the invisible ship.
Destiny 2. I mean, obviously, one of the things that bummed me out a little bit about the first book was I kind of got attached to the ship a little bit, and then I was like, no.
As it disintegrates in the atmosphere.
Yeah. And
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But then the second book starts, and Evian has this was it Desiccate or whatever?
Yeah, the Desiccate.
Which
It's a
not-
horrible junker of a ship.
Not a sexy ship. And then all of a sudden, her brother's like, hey, check out what I got in the garage. And she's like, holy crap.
It was pretty.
Yeah. But I sort of had this, I was reminded of one of the Star Trek episodes. I think it was actually one of the movies where, they've got the new Enterprise and it's in space dock, and they're like, yeah, we're going to take it out early, and it's not quite finished, but we're going to give it a run through. And then,
what could go wrong?
And they're calling the Admiral being like, yeah, we trashed it. I'm sorry. That was Borg, or whatever it was. Well, this ship did not hit Borg, but it did get an awful lot of...
It didn't hit Borg. It met the Protoss, though.
Yeah.
For those of you who are fans of StarCraft, there is a description of one of the higher beings there that just... it was either Protoss or it was... I can't remember their names, but when the Skeksis and the wise ones meet in in the Dark Crystal, it also looked like one of those, which I find also looked like the Protoss or whatever. Yeah, so they met the Protoss. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but that poor ship. I mean,
yeah, I'm destroyed. God damn it!
Especially when Merle, I think, what is Merle?
Was it Merle? Yes.
Yeah. So she's in the loading dock of this ship, right? And she's about to, leave, and so she pulls her ship out of the loading dock of Destiny 2, and while she's still within the shields of Destiny's 2, she just turns all of her torpedoes and firepower and starts firing back into the loading dock, being like... And there they are in the control room being like, we're getting the crap kicked out of us. From where? Like, what? I really enjoyed that scene. I was like, what the hell? Yeah.
And I liked the old sailor who... It was that scene, right, where he lost his life, where he had to... Oh no, it was when they were coasting in.
Yeah,
When the first of the shuttles came in, not Merle's, because Merle's came in after.
Yeah, so when he sacrificed himself to get the airlock doors closed, I think it was?
Yeah. That made me sad. Thanks, Marie. Yeah, so how did you feel about, I've forgotten his name already. Merle's brother. Well, there's two. The one you didn't think was quite the bad guy becoming the end up. Yes, the actual baddie.
I kind of like Clave's role in the whole thing. He was one of those characters where you're sitting there and you're like, what a douche. And then you're like, oh no, maybe he's not as bad as I thought. No, oh, he's getting better, getting worse, getting better. And it was also, not really completely his fault because he was constantly being controlled by his other brother, but there was a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, see, I had only a slight issue with, because you had he's a bad guy. Oh wait, no, he's actually was just trying to do the right thing and was going about it the wrong way, and he realizes it now, and then you're like, no, he's actually a really awful human being. But you don't get any clue that he's a really awful human being until right at the very end. So it came rather abruptly for me, where I was just like, really? It's not that it was a huge jump, because yeah, he's part of the evil trio or whatever, but how evil he was, how twisted he became, there was no clue until right up at the end. And you're just like, see, this is what I mean by the detail, like little tiny hints. They don't have to be huge, they can be just little things where you go back later and you're like, oh, I should have totally seen that coming. But there was none.
The way I remember that scene, though, it wasn't so much that he was turned out to be a crazy, evil human being. It's just that his crazy, evil brother merged souls with him or something. And
no, he did. He killed his brother to absorb his power. That was what he did. That was his brother's plan to do to him, but that's what he ended up doing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember that scene differently, but whatever. It's possible.
Yeah. It's possible. Yeah, no, it's just, there was no little clues.
I see that.
And I like the little clues.
What actually bothered me a lot about the Clave stuff was how trusting everybody else was in his various stages of rehabilitation. That kind of bothered me. How do you pronounce the main character's name?
I pronounce it Layla.
Layla? I found that for a keeper who's in charge of a planet,
she did a pretty shitty job.
It's not that she did a shitty job, but she was way too trusting and gave way too many chances to people. Now, part of that is very obviously character design. She was meant to be that sort of character, but that's one thing that did bother me a little bit. I was like...
Especially considering at the end of the first book, spoiler alert, her aunt was trying to kill one of them. You would think you would lose some of that trustingness after that.
Yeah. But one fun thing that I did enjoy about this book was all of the alien races, the ether creatures.
Mm-hmm. I like the ether creatures as a concept. I think they were executed better in this book than they were in the first book. Because I remember feeling in the first book that they were kind of just there just cause, particularly the Burganda. Mm-hmm. It just felt like, oh, I need a sentient plant-based life form here. But it didn't feel like that in this book at all. They were just endemic to the world. It was really well done.
Yeah. I actually, if we're taking, I don't know, a wish list, I might actually like to see more about the Burganda in
I'd
other
like
books.
To see more about the Kilta. Kilta? The cat people.
Yeah.
Those people, though, they were cool as...
Gay Marie. We want an all ether book. Yeah.
We demand. Make it so.
Engage. When you watch this,
great.
start writing
Hot.
right away. No, no, but I think that would be phenomenal.
She's not busy enough.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, no, I love the ether creatures.
Yeah, very much.
There's definite desire to see more of them. Elsa, was it? Or the leader of the ethers in this book? Sorry, the leader of the Briganda.
Yes, I think it was Elsa.
Elsa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she had a lot of interesting stuff going for her that I would have liked to have seen explored a little bit more.
Yeah, again, lack of detail. It could have been a much thicker book. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing if your reader is saying, I could really have used more. It's probably a good thing. They liked it enough that they want more.
How did you feel about the consort?
I liked her defiance of the tradition regarding the consort,
which turned out to be incredibly right. A lot of this world's traditions were not absolutely necessary and lost in translation, and
or tradition just for the sake of tradition, having no actual benefit whatsoever. No, I liked that about Layla. Even though she seemed like a really pliable sort of person, but there were some things that she was just like, no, this is rubbish. Aiden, his name, right? Evian's brother?
Yeah.
Is it Aiden?
I am crap with pronouncing these things.
Yeah,
really.
no, me too.
Yeah.
That guy.
The husband.
Well, strictly speaking, consort. But her refusal to, like, not declare who that is, as tradition states, her saying, no, this is the father of my child, this is the man I love, he will be at my side and take it or leave it. It's like, I don't care, he's staying. I liked that very much.
Yeah, I did incredibly enjoy the fact that the bad guys poisoned him with dark ether, so that whenever she tried to, defend herself from them, she'd basically be killing the man she loved. I thought that was hilarious. I was just like, well done, Marie. Yeah,
watching loved ones die is super funny.
It's awesome. Yeah. As a story point, at least.
I liked, as a plot point, making it look like her child was the one causing all of the problems, but in fact, spoiler alert, was the one was just reacting to the problems that were being caused. That was really clever. Really, really, really clever. Cause
she had me completely fooled on that one,
right,
too.
Me too.
I really was sold that this, 2-week-old baby, whatever, was causing earthquakes and screwing up the ether.
Every time it got upset.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my god, how are they going to solve this? Whatever.
Yeah.
And then once it came out that, it was actually just a trickery of the bad guys, I was like...
it was Darth dude, whatever his name was. Anakin without the mask. Because he was all burnt up and stuff. You guys really need to watch it to get any of the... read it to get any of these references, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that was really, really clever. Yeah, I was sold on that too.
Yeah. The baby was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was good. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah.
Other characters.
How did you find the Protoss creature thing? That's just what I'm gonna call it.
I was... That character was not really one of the ones that terribly affected me in any way.
It's just because it reminded me so much of the Protoss. I think that's why it's stuck in my head. Just because there was this extraterrestrial blue-white glowy thingy.
Yeah. I was also struck by the fact that in this book, they really started taking the gloves off the ether creatures.
Yes! Yes.
Because the first book was very much,
Well, because it was all done in was it the Solarian
Yeah.
Empire, where ether creatures had to have their gloves on, right?
So all the cool creatures were really constrained in the first book,
yeah,
but this time,
not so much. Blue guy, what was his name?
the Sloan?
Yeah,
Slaunt?
the Slaunt.
Slaunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was cool. I liked his inclusion in the book. I like how
His powers were
his
pretty,
powers were
pretty
awesome.
badass, yeah.
Yeah. So again, the ether creatures were awesome. More. All right, we're in our last stretch. So final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Overall, good book. The only thing that really bummed me out on this book was actually the final scene. I would have liked to have seen Lyala basically throw off her sort of wishy-washiness and like end it.
Yeah, like
Where-
become queenly.
Yeah,
Yeah, sort of Khaleesi style.
Yeah, basically. But she was not the one who ended it. So
Yeah.
that was my only down point of the whole book. But otherwise,
Yeah. Myself as well. I really enjoyed this book. Far superior in my head to the first one. Although, mind you, I might have just been grumpy when I read the first book. Who knows? But more. There could have been so much more detail that would have provided much more depth both in the world and to the characters, so that whenever bad stuff happened, I would have been gasping or crying or something. That would have been nice. Not that I might be something of a masochist. All right. Star rating?
Star rating. I'm gonna go with a 3.5 for this one. It also is important that I should say that I've actually loaned this book out to a lot of people. That and like the whole series basically, and I've never had anybody who passed me the book back and went, meh. They're all like, yeah. So I feel that really it deserves in that 3 to 4 range.
Yeah, I agree. 3.5 for me as well. I really enjoyed this book. I love the ether creatures. I loved that I was fooled into thinking it was the baby. And I really kind of love the bittersweet ending with the red sky. Again, you'll have to read the book to find out what that is all about, but I don't like super happy endings because they just feel forced and unrealistic, so this was good. Alright, pick the next book.
I'm sorry. Whatever this is, I'm sorry. Dragon's Egg by Robert L. Forwood.
I have not read this one.
I've never heard of this book.
No. Well, obviously it's in my handwriting, so I've heard of the book, but I have never read it. Alright, so in 2 weeks' time, we will be reviewing Dragon's Egg. Diction is done with the tip of the tongue and the teeth. By Robert L. Forwood. Don't even! If you have any thoughts about Destiny's Fall, do leave them in the comments down below. It'll also be up for discussion on our goodreads.com book club. I'll leave a link to that down below. If you have any books that you want us to review, leave them also in the comments and I'll include them in the bowl. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys! Bye!
Ciao!
We do our own stunts.
Look at our finger
Of
rush
course you
hour
do your own
two.
stunts.